Hey guys, how you doing? Going to be starting here in a few minutes. Looks like we got a couple familiar faces here. Josh and Scott Long. We're going to have a little session here at the end as well to go over any Q&A. It will be about a 45, maybe 50-minute webinar with a little added bonus at the end as well for anybody sticking around to the end. So going to give it another minute or two, and I'm just going to hop right in here. I am missing Andrea, my assistant, so if I do look off to the left-hand side here, I'm just letting some other people in when they pop in here. So I'm going to be talking about automating your daily operations. And once we jump in here, we'll actually talk about this in a few seconds. All right. Well, it is about 2 after 1, so I'm going to be respectful of everybody's time who showed up here. Anybody who's joining late, they will probably miss the beginning of this, but we're going to be talking about is the 5 stages of business and how your business success and how we can actually go based on your 5 stages of business and actually automate it. But basically, before we dive into this, I really want to commend everybody taking the time out of their actual day right now to go and attend this live webinar. Because I know if you're like me, I'm wearing 15, 20 different hats in the business right now. Sometimes it seems like there's an endless amount of tasks that we try to accomplish. And sometimes getting out of your business to work on these things seems ultimately impossible. So I want to thank everybody who actually is joining us live here for actually tackling that. And what I'm going to share over the next 45 to 50 minutes that I'm going to give you an extremely actionable takeaway in your business. We're going to look at the 5 areas in your business that are going to be your growth hurdles. And if you're past that stage of business, how to actually ensure that hurdle is taken care of in your daily operations. And in addition to that, we're going to be diving in and showing you a total of 3 areas of operations of automating. But what we're going to do is actually show you kind of a sneak peek of what Service Autopilot has in store for us over the next month or so. After working with Tara, their head of product, pretty much on a weekly basis for an hour or 2 each week, going to kind of lift the hood and show you what Service Autopilot right now has coming down the pipeline for some automation features, which is going to be really exciting in my opinion, because they have listened to us and she is really moving the needle. Crazy enough, Tara is actually text messaging me right now, asking if we could help out with some of their content videos on a weekly basis to help educate the users. So without any further delay, we're really going to dive into this and take a look at it. Feel free to use the chat and we will answer any questions you have. So the first thing, a few of you on the screen have definitely seen this in the Masterminds group, where we take our 7-figure businesses and help them get to 3 to 5 million or even 8 figures if that's their goal with Dan Relfs. But I do want to spend a minute or two on this, even if you have seen this and you're in the Masterminds group, the Scale Plus group, because this is applicable to all our businesses. And the areas we focus here are in our Masterminds group are off to the right. But the areas I'm going to be focusing on are going to be on the lower stage businesses. So if you've already broken 1 million, my guess, if you're anything like me when I first started automating my business and really organizing it, is that we actually did not tackle these growth hurdles. And these growth hurdles are issues that stay with us no matter where we go in size of the business. They're all going to be there. So across the top here, if you can see my cursor here, I want to talk about the 5 stages. And those are going to be listed across the top here. And there's 5 main areas. I like to call stage 1, stage 1A, and stage 1B. And that's where you really, on stage 1A, you've got a side job and your business is really a part-time gig. And your biggest hurdle here across the bottom is time. And obviously, if we got a full-time job and we're running our business on the side, that's a major hurdle. Now, the other thing, as we go into our stage B and we quit our full-time job and become a fully employed or self-employed person, is the idea of leads. So we can no longer just rely on the people we know, word of mouth, different community places like churches or sports groups, our kids that are playing at. We need to actually go out and get some leads in here to keep the lights on in the business. So as we're looking at there, we're looking across the top at the stages and we're looking at the growth hurdle. Now, the other thing I want to draw attention to before we really dive into this is this is based on work from Clayton Mass and Scott Martineau. They're the founders of a company called Infusionsoft that builds automation. So thousands of hours worth of research, census data. And as I went to go out and scale and automate my lawn care business to 7 figures and beyond, all the consultants and all the people online that were talking about automating a business never automated a small business, especially a small service business. And where I mean is 10 million or below. Obviously, all of us here can agree that a business at 10 million is a very large business. As far as the government or some consultants are looking at it, that's considered a small business. So the idea is that we want to be able to go out and compare what our businesses are at and what's the next growth hurdle we're going to face. And it wasn't until I found that this diagram, probably 6 or 7 years ago, at least, maybe a little bit sooner, that I actually understood where I was at and where I was going. And a lot of times people want to know, hey, Mike, what's the next growth hurdle? What's the next bottleneck that I'm going to hit? And this, I will tell you, is a great representation of whether you're at $0 or you're going all the way up to 10 million. These are the issues that you're going to face. So if you can see them ahead of time, it's going to be a great advantage. Now, the good news is I'm going to help you automate at least all the way up to stage 3 and part of stage 4. So that can actually be built out in an automated feature. And then we'll talk about some things on the later end of stage 4 and stage 5 that we tackle in our masterminds group. Not really talking about the masterminds group today, but I know there is a few people looking at the other screen here that are on that group. So we'll highlight kind of what that looks like, how we can't automate it, but we can build systems around that. So the idea is we go from left to right. These hurdles don't disappear, they stay. But the main thing I want to look at here before we dive into it is the number of these businesses in the United States. You can see my cursor here about 3 lines down. So between 16 million and 6 million. So if my math is pretty good here on this, it's about 24 million. Those are only the people that have actually registered and paid their taxes. So the thing we want to look at here is, to my guesstimation, there's probably close to 35 to $40 million or 40 million companies in the stage 1, stage A and 1B group. This is the biggest area. And the hurdles are time and eventually when they become full-time leads. So that's a number you want to keep a look at as we walk through these stages of business. So once we become that full-time business, we get enough leads. We're running somewhere around 100 to 300,000 in sales. There's about 1.7 million of these folks in the stage 2 new employer. And you got around 2 to 3 employees or employing some subcontractors. Your biggest hurdle here is sales. What we need to do is be able to have somebody be able to come into your office or virtually or out in the field. And when they clock in Monday morning to when they clock out Friday, they are doing strictly sales. And there's a sales goal and there is an actual versus budget regimen that we're doing. Now, you may be looking at me, Mike, well, at that stage, I don't have time to be a full-time salesperson, or I don't have the ability to hire a full-time salesperson. At this stage, you can definitely have a part-time or quarter-time salesperson. But in order to get past this growth hurdle, we need to have a documented sales process. And what we find in this stage is a lot of times is the business owner is still the salesperson. That's how it was in my business. We figured out this growth hurdle when we got into stage 3. But really what happens is the business owner goes out and sells a lot of work, and then they do a lot of work, and they start to run out of work, and they're like, oh crap, we need to start selling some more work. So we go out and start selling some more work, and it's a teeter-tot effect. We're going back and forth. So what we need to do is figure out a system for predictable sales, whether that's part-time or full-time, that's up for discussion. But right now we need a predictable sales system. In addition, in order to completely get over this growth hurdle, and I'm going to challenge you that most businesses are probably not going to get past this hurdle completely unless they did like an essay setup or deep dive with SimpleGrowth. What we really need to do is have a predictable way to go out and estimate the jobs with no emotion, with predictable budgeted time, predictable profit, and product with product markup. So the ability to go out, measure turf square footage, number of shrubs, linear feet, whatever that looks like, we need to have the ability to go out and have a predictable, delegatable system or a predictable system that the business owner is held to. Now, if you're not to that production rate based estimating system, the first baby step is going to be, I like to call it guesstimating. We're based on our experience, how many hours are we going to say that lawn mowing job takes? So if I'm going to charge, if I think it's going to take 1 hour and I'm charging $65 an hour, 1 hour times 65 an hour, it's a $65 mowing job. But that is, in essence, the area that you need to be tackling in your business to get past that stage 2 growth hurdle. Now, when we go over to our stage 3 area here, there's about 1.9 million. So we came out here with the people probably not paying taxes at around 40 million. We got to 1.7 and we're growing here. And we've got to that 300,000 to a million mark. And there's about 1.9 small businesses in the United States on there that are actively paying their taxes and registered. I will challenge this chart just a little bit because the labor that is needed at this point based on a maintenance driven company may be a little bit higher. So we could see this growth hurdle sneaking in as soon as about 300 to 700,000. But rule of thumb, most of the businesses we work with now, it's SimpleGrowth, several hundred a year. I think 300 to a million is a very good benchmark. You'll notice that's kind of that magic number. We need to break that $1 million mark to get to the stage 4 7-figure business. As we're diving in here, we want to take a look at it. Team size is one basic team. And then we've got marketing service. That is going to be our biggest hurdle. And like I said, from left to right, you can continue to grow from stage to stage to stage. and not completely figure out these bottlenecks. But these growth hurdles will never leave you. Even when you get to 10, 15, 20 million, we still see them. They need to be addressed. They need to be handled. I'm going to show you how to automate all these, or the majority of them, here in a few minutes. But I want to put some context in before we actually go in and talk about that. Now, the marketing services. So this is kind of a scary part in business. And a lot of you guys here that I know are probably feeling the pain of this. Is what you've got a business owner now hiring people that they don't know, and those people need to go out potentially by themselves and actually service those businesses. So in that stage, you got probably 4 to 10 employees. Like I said, depending on the maintenance or any higher labor, you may have a few more employees there. The idea is the business owner is now going out and having to hire these people that they don't know, and they're performing the work by themselves. So we need to go out first and create standardizing operating procedures. And how do we create predictable services to actually go out and create predictable and repeatable quality service that can be done without the business owner? And that's going to come down to hiring and training and being able to create predictable systems. Now, in addition, this is my opinion where business gets fun, but this is where most businesses get bottlenecked. Either replicating the service without the business owner that is standardized with quality, and in addition, marketing. We need to be able to go out and consistently market. Now, if you were at SEC, the conference for Service Autopilot this year, Jonathan Potoshnik of the Lawn Care Millionaire and the co-founder of SA opened up this conversation around marketing perfectly. But Jonathan, if you took his 45 minutes to an hour talk and condensed it into one takeaway, as we're facing this new recession, we need to go in and get back to basics and learn how to market. And that's our growth hurdle at stage number 3. And the idea here is Jonathan used to use an analogy of a vending machine. And all your ideal clients are in this vending machine. And if we put $100 into the vending machine, our ideal client would kick out, and we would just keep kicking in the hundreds. And as we kicked in the $100 bills, those folks would eventually actually come kicking back out. So the idea here is that we've created a predictable system to fill that sales funnel that we've dialed out that can be delegated, and it's going to have a budgeted time and projected profit with markup. So those are the ideas that we need to be working on over here. But we need to have a predictable marketing system. So if we spend X amount of dollars, we're going to get X amount of leads. And based on the stats, we should have a predictable closing ratio. And eventually, we should have a client acquisition cost per marketing source, what it costs us. And eventually, if we're tracking the data inside of any of the software that we may be using, we should have a client lifetime value. So what you're going to find is not all marketing sources close at the same percentage, and all marketing sources are not the same far as client lifetime value. So those are the things in that stage number 3 that we really need to dial out. Once you get to this point, growing the business, at least from a sales perspective, becomes a lot easier. So most businesses may not dial in the 100% of the service part, but they sure as heck get a really good handle on the marketing and sales piece. Those are going to be very, very essential. And now we can predictably scale that business without the business owner. If the business owner is still doing all the sales at this point and the marketing and babysitting the services, something kind of magical happens here in a bad way. You'll see the next stage of business is stage 4. There's only about 700,000 of people, businesses in that stage 4. Everybody tends to settle back in this stage 3 because between the sales, the marketing, the service, that is the biggest bottleneck that you're going to see. And like I said, as we break that $1 million mark, if you haven't figured this out completely, it's not going away. We need to address these, and I'm going to show you how to automate those here in a few minutes. And I'm going to usually don't prescribe a level of business or stage that you should, adhere to or stick to. But if you're here spending time out of your day to work on it and not in it like Michael Gerber, I'm going to prescribe that you really do. If you haven't, you want to break that 7-figure mark. And now you're going to be in the top 3 to 5% of all businesses here in the United States, just not service businesses, lawn care, landscape. But what we've got here is that $1 to $3 million mark. Part of this we can automate. The other part we go in and actually tackle in the SimpleGrowth masterminds. But really what we've got is people and systems. And what we've got now is we've hired these people that we don't know, that are now hiring people that they don't know. And we need to create predictable systems to go out and actually perform the work. So our biggest hurdle is actually going out and creating people, processes, and systems. And we're going to talk about how we can do that through some repetitive automations to hold accountability. So the business owner is now not babysitting and telling everybody what to do, when to do, and how to do it. We're going to leverage the power of the software and actually let the software manage some of the systems. And when it doesn't happen, we pull somebody in to manage it. Now, if we go in and scale to our stage 5 business here, that's going to be our 3 to 10 million mark. There's only about 300,000 of them. And your biggest growth hurdle is really where we're focusing on the Simple Growth Masterminds group is leadership and culture. So the leadership skills that you need and the culture skills that you need, or the culture within the business, is not the same that got you to $1 million. So from $1 million to 10 million, we need to go in and build better leadership skills of the CEO or whoever's running the company, because what between 1 to 3 million is not going to be the same leadership skill set that you need at that level. And that's what we dive into that masterminds group, Dan Relps, who actually teaches it all and facilitates it. In addition, we need to actually really define and build a culture. And once we go in and get a mission strategies, purpose, vision, and values, those things become our guiding light. And the reason why we need those is you are not just the only leader now. You have many leaders, and we need to get everybody on the same boat, rowing in the same direction. And what we adhere to in that group is we teach you how to set the culture, and then we go in and how to hire, train, and fire to those values. And now everybody's on the same page, and it's going to create clarity through the business. So the good news here is if you're on this webinar, I'm going to show you how to automate pretty much from stage 1 all the way through about halfway through stage 4. And when you get to stage 4, a little bit beyond that, that's when, if you're interested, you reach out and see if you qualify for the Simple Growth Masterminds group, where we bring in our 8-figure business experts and I just facilitate and they teach. So as we're diving in here, I wanted to give you a little background on here. This is actually some shots from my lawn care company a few years ago. And these are some of the things that we went in here. But if people are unfamiliar with the story, Josh and a few of the others on here probably have heard the story, so I'll make it quick as well. Scott, what's going on, buddy? But basically, the business I had built originally revolved around me. And after 5 years of college and watching my college professors and all the business owners that I admired in the local area, they had built these businesses that literally revolved around them. They left for a day or a week, that business would have fell apart. So I thought that's the way I should have built it too. But lo and behold, working 100 hours a week, 7 days a week was not good for the family life balance. Obviously, the 2 kids on the left and right here in the bottom, thankfully didn't have them with the first wife, but that business literally caused a divorce. I mean, to add insult to injury, my wife came back, or ex-wife, came back on February 14th, Valentine's Day, and said, I'm out of here. That business is running your life. So like a lot of us, we go on in the internet and try to find solutions. So I searched how to get your life back from your business. And I found a automation solution. And what I'm going to show you is literally how we used a process called lifecycle marketing along with the automations, and automated each part of that business, and literally went from 100 hours a week down to 5 or 6 hours a week, to the ability to become an absentee owner up to 30 days at a time when needed or desired. So as we dive in here, I don't want to do all the talking as usual. Taking some notes out of Mr. Dan Relf's page here, but feel free to use the chat here and raise your hand as you go through. But just to get an idea who's in this virtual room right now, how many people are in stage 1 business? Is there anybody here that is in that stage 1 business currently? And you can raise your hands if you got your video on. But I just kind of want to get an idea of where you're at. Okay. The next step here is our stage 2 business. So you're running to about 100 to 300,000 in annual revenue. And your biggest growth hurdle right now is sales. We're going to show you how to tackle that. Anybody in there at stage 2? Okay. Stage number 3 is going to be 300 to $1 million. And your biggest challenge right now, if you haven't solved it, is sales, and now marketing and service. Anybody in that stage 3 business? Okay. A couple people. All right. Good news. And anybody in the room that has broken $1 million between 1 and 3 million? Okay, so we got Scott and Josh, a couple others maybe with their cameras on, but I want to congratulate you guys. You are the elite. You guys have done this and become the elite business owners, because we know running the business is a little bit easier now at $1 million, but we've got new hurdles, and we've got to become that new leader and build those systems and processes, accountability to continue to scale and delegate. Anybody on the call right now between 3 and 10 million? All right, so we're shooting right now. The majority of us are between our stage 3 and stage 4 business. This is a perfect room here, but I do want to congratulate everybody who has broken that $1 million mark, because it's a tough nut to crack. And once you do it, things do loosen up. So if you haven't broken $1 million, I highly implore you to watch the next few minutes here, because we're going to give you some steps to actually automate that and blast through that growth hurdle. And a lot of the people that have worked with Simple Growth in the past are currently between that 750 to $1 million mark, when we turn on a couple of those upsell automations and some of the other things we're going to show you today with best practice with lifecycle marketing, surprisingly how fast they actually escalate past that $1 million mark. So if you're building yourself, I'm going to give you the roadmap as well here. But how many people here, just show of hands, anybody feel that they have their business fully automated for success? Traditionally not the case. So maybe I probably should have asked how many people feel like they need to work on it to have it fully set up for success. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. And how do we actually tackle that in the business? So what we want to do is give a very high level overview of lifecycle marketing, because before we automate, we need to really understand the 3 areas in the business to create personalized but automated communication. And I'll give you some examples of what not to do, but this is really where the rubber meets the road and where it's at. And I'm going to suggest that there is approximately 6 areas in your business that you're literally crumpling up good cash and throwing it in the trash can. So I'm going to expose the 6 holes in your business or sales pipeline, and then show you how to use lifecycle marketing and then implement automations to actually tie into your lifecycle marketing. This is the exact process, and it's really some updated flows that I used in my business to create the process. So this is literally step-by-step how we did it and what we looked at. So on the left here, what you've got is you're driving traffic to your website or your phone. In this process here, I'm going to expose one of your holes in your sales funnel potentially on your website. So you're driving people from Facebook, AdWords, 9-rounds, banner ads, every door direct mailing, however you're getting them to your website. When they hit that website, we should have something called a lead magnet. We're giving something of value away for free in exchange for their first name, last name, and email. We should also have a Facebook pixel on there. With the new updates in Facebook, there's only 1 pixel, but it'll allow us our Facebook ads to retarget anybody hit our website. But the idea here is some people aren't ready to request an estimate. And if they're not ready to request an estimate and they leave your website, you paid good money to get them there and you've lost those leads you paid for. So let's give something free of value that's important to them around the services you provide, in exchange for their name and email that we can market, nurture them. We have the ability to get them in our database. So that's the first area that most lawn care businesses are literally throwing money out the window. Next area is here. We've got our sales pipeline. They've requested that estimate. We should be going through a short-term nurture process that we'll talk about later, and an automated estimate process. But let's say we get lucky here. Actually, right off the bat, let's say we don't get lucky. This person does not buy from us and they have no existing services. This will actually be the second area in your business that we actually are literally throwing money away. So the early days of my company, before I understood lifecycle marketing, we would literally take every loss estimate and literally figuratively or physically in the early days, throw it in the trash. What we're going to do is give you a process where you can go in and nurture these folks and provide free value, and hopefully through the process of reciprocity, when they're ready to buy, they come back to you. So there's a lot of money sitting in your database or software right now of estimates you have not converted. We're going to show you how to capitalize on those this year. Next thing is we get lucky enough to make the sale, but it's only a one-time sale. If we don't have an automated process, especially in the spring rush, to upsell to a reoccurring, so one-time to reoccurring process, we are also literally throwing good money out. So we're going to go through a process of upselling from one time to reoccurring. And that is going to be based on some logic in the automations, adhering to the life cycle methodology that I'm going to talk about in a minute. If we get that one-time sale or the sale, and we're lucky enough to be at a reoccurring sale, traditionally what we're going to be talking about in a methodology is something called a gateway service. So these services we're selling off the bat should be easy to sell over the phone or directly off satellite imagery or through AI from an automatic estimating tool. But the idea here is we want the ability to sell lawn mowing, fertilizing, pest control, mosquito control, whatever those services are we can measure online and close on phone. We want to be able to do that. After the sale, we want to be able to upsell the non-gateway services that we may actually go out to the property and collect the property information to actually get the estimates in play. So those are the 2 things that we're really looking at here is we want the ability to go out and close those sales quickly because speed is going to win. And in addition, upselling from one time to reoccurring and from our gateway services to our additional services. So if we're not doing that, we are literally have another hole in our sales pipeline, these little trash cans down here. We need the ability to cross-sell, upgrade, and seasonal timing upsells. So one of the estimate processes, I'm going to actually open up and show you some of the marketing copy that we build around these upsells and the methodology of how we should be doing it in email and text messaging. If we're not going out and getting 60 to 80 estimate requests in 24 to 48 hours with these upsells, you're not doing them right. And I'm going to show you how to do them. So that's going to be really awesome. But that's very traditional. When people work with us 60 to 80 estimate requests, it's not uncommon for them to call and say, hey, Mike, I think something's broke. It says I have 100 estimates I got to do in the last 3 days. Nope, that's actually the real thing. So what I will caution you is when we get into lifecycle marketing, the automations here in the next slide or two, we really need to have that growth hurdle. If remember, stage number 2 is sales, the sales process, and the estimating process to be able to delegate and be able to pump those profitable estimates out quickly. Now, the final part is our loss estimates and cancel reactivations. So we've already tackled the loss estimate off the left, really the cancel reactivation. If they're not crazy, if they are crazy, mark them as do not market in the system, but we go out and nurture them once again. And what we find is 2 to 2.5% of all canceled clients through this automated process will come back. That number actually is a little bit higher now post-COVID because we do see in a lot of service businesses, some people cut back on their luxury services, such as lawn care and home cleaning. And now that their finances are back in shape and their stability in their job, they're coming back. But if you hadn't been nurturing them, there's probably a good chance they'd go to your competitor because they're probably embarrassed. But we've continued that relationship. So we're going to show you how to actually tackle that in an automated process. And the whole secret behind automations is really these 3 areas right here. And they are going to be the attract, sell, and wow phase. And as we go from left to right, top to bottom, this is where we go out and we attract them, we sell them a service, and then we wow them. And I'm going to dive into each one of these. But before we go out and build these complicated automations, we need to make sure the methodology in the segmentation and the personalization of it is actually appropriate for what you're doing to meet your end goals. So attract phases are nurture in our organic social media content. So one of the things we want to do is once we're targeting them, we want to go and provide free value information that people want and need. We also need to create a higher perceived value for the service and actually focus yourself as the local expert. So one of the guys that's doing a great job at this is Garrett Matthews. He's pumping out 3 to 5 videos a week, and he's providing free and valuable content. Very similar that we do at SimpleGrowth in the Facebook groups or these webinars. We're going to show you how we do it. And if you want to do it yourself, we've given you the roadmap. And if you need some help, we've established ourselves as the expert because we've not only shown you and talked about it, we're actually giving you an executable roadmap. So in that process, we're going to go in, target our people, we're going to attract interest and collect leads. And that's part of that lead magnet. If you hit that website and they don't want that estimate quite yet, we've driven there and we collected those leads and we can nurture them in the software. Short-term nurture. So this is going to be before the estimate is actually sent out or in conjunction with the estimate. The idea here is we want to have that education, not like in the attract phase, but this is going to be specific to the main service they're interested in. So if they're interested in a basic service like lawn mowing, one of those gateway services, we're going to be talking about how a professional cuts the lawn, proper mowing height, balancing the blades, how to sharpen them, whatever goes into that service that separates you from the competition. We're going to educate the consumer that we are the expert and this is what goes on, and we're not the chuck in the truck with the pickup in the back of a truck. Now, the second part of this is really going in and addressing the sales and price objections. So I'm looking over here at my bookcase here. The book They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan is on there. And the idea, what Marcus Sheridan did and what I did in my lawn care company is we addressed all the questions that we get asked in our office on a daily basis. And all the sales objections we would get particular to that lawn mowing or other service. So what we've done is educated to create a higher perceived value, and we've overcome any of the sales or price objections to shorten that cycle. So I'm guessing that 99% of your competition is not thinking about the sales cycle like this. They're literally going up to a house, they're looking at it, and they're saying that's a $65 lawn mowing. At best, they maybe give them a carbon copy piece of paper, hopefully maybe an email. And that's what we're up against. But the idea here is if we can dial in and get these pieces in place, by the time we give them the price, as long as you're in the ballpark, the price is not the issue. You've already gotten them to know, like, and trust you through the educate offer. And now we're going to actually go in and close that deal. We're going to show you how we tackle that closing and follow up in our automation process here. And that is our conversion to 20 days to close. So if you heard 20 days to close, a lot of people think 20 days to close in a SimpleGrowth automation is the whole automation. Really, all it is the closing and following up the estimate. So the secret, if you're building these yourself, is there's certain things we need to do. We need to create some scarcity. Spots are filling fast. We don't overbook. We want to create a deadline, 20 days. We're creating that urgency. And one of the things that we do at the end of that automation, if you're building yourself, is literally at 20 days, we ask them for permission to close out their account. And they think, wow, if I don't accept this estimate, I'm going to have to get another one. And then in that, we always want a CTA or a call to action. Call or text back now to save your spot. And the key to this is something we call omni-channel marketing. It's multiple communication channels. And they're going to be going between potentially hard mail, phone calls, automated text, and automated emails. Now, you may say, Mike, I don't have time to actually make these phone calls. That's okay. You can use a product. There's several out there, but if you're using Service Autopilot, the one that it ties into is called SendJim. It will hit the cell phone on file with a pre-recorded message. It's called a ringless voicemail bomb. And what that does is it looks like a missed call, and it's a pre-recorded message. Hey, it's Mike from Callahan's Lawn Care. So sorry I missed you. Just reaching out to see if you have any questions regarding the estimate. If you do, give me a call back at this number. Otherwise, accept the online estimate. So we're able to automate that as well. But the key is we make it personalized but automated. So in that ringless voicemail bomb, it's not like a robocall. We've talked about what it is, and you could say, I've dropped off, or we gave you an estimate 2 days ago. And if we time the automation correctly, that is the timing. So that's the secret sauce of not just following up and basically random blasts of communication, but we use lifecycle marketing to talk specifically to where they're at in the life cycle with that personalized and automated communication. So the next thing is to follow up to upsell more profitable work. So we've attracted, we've sold, and now we need to wow. And automating a follow-up system through repetitive tasks or tickets, if you're using Service Autopilot, is a great way to do this. Now, some other softwares that do this as well if you're not using SA. But the idea here is we want to go in and set a task or a to-do to follow up for a property-specific inspection in about 30 days after the initial gateway service. And what we're going to do is use a on-site estimate form to collect the data. So it would be a form in the mobile or tablet, and that's going to automatically update the lead, or now actually the client. And we're going to collect the custom fields that we need around bed square footage, number of shrubs, any other work that can be done there. So now as we go through our upsell process, we have the ability to not have to go out and do property-specific estimates in person. We have that data in our system. And then what we're going to do is go in and through the automation, and talk about it here on the next screen or two, how to segment that database. So we're not email blasting our list and saying, hey, it's time to sign up for a spring cleanup. If you've already signed up for it, just ignore this email, but otherwise sign up. And what you're doing really when you do that is you're really spamming your client base and telling them you don't care. So we want the ability to send specific information based on that customer life cycle. And I'm going to get into more details how you segment that to make sure your information is correct. And a lot of the big players, even the national franchises, are getting this wrong. So I'm going to really lift the hood on a screen or two how to segment that database. Doesn't sound sexy, but man, the results when you get them going definitely are worthwhile. So I'm going to give you a couple examples instead of just kind of diving in and showing you everything right off the bat. I want to give you some examples of how to really dial in that upsell process. And like I said, 60 to 80 estimate requests, 24 to 48 hours is probably pretty normal. So we want to base them on the timing of the season or the frequency of the service provided. The first one, big one right there in that holes in your sales pipeline, one time to recurring service. That's the biggest one. Then we want to build seasonal upsells. So we want to talk about these seasonal upsells. Do they currently have the service already? Do they have an estimate in play? Is it on a waiting list? Is it in process? Or has that been done in, say, the last 30 or 60 days if it needs to be done yearly? If it doesn't meet those criteria, then we would build the automation that I'm going to show you to sweep through a minute or so before the automation triggers. So it is the most relevant and current information on that client. And that's how we're going to utilize that 3 process of life cycle marketing. In addition, we can go out and add additional services while we're at the property. So take a look at those gateway services. What could marry up nicely out there? So if we're doing mowing and fertilizing, if you're licensed for it, mosquito control, perimeter pest control, several other services along those lines would be great add-on or expansion sales, because the same technician technically could be doing the same exact service. You eliminated your drive time. What you've done is sometimes doubled or tripled your value of that client or ticket value. Not sure if we have anybody here from home cleaning, but a lot of times we do have a couple people that pop in. And a lot of people in the cleaning industry ask, well, Mike, cleaning is a little different. It's on the inside. A great one around there would be holiday cleaning of stove and fridge cleanouts. So there are some great other examples around the cleaning industry. And if you're in the cleaning industry, reach out to me privately. I'll give you some more examples of how we automate cleaning as well. So the key to success is really personalizing these automated upsells. So I talked about segmenting that database. And these are the things that we really want to take into account, especially over the slow season here. If we want success, is how do we know who's who? So there's really 4 types of people in any service company's database, as far as I'm concerned. We have leads, people who have current estimates in play. that have not bought from us. We have closed leads who have lost estimates, but they have no other services. So we've got our leads and closed leads. We could talk to them specifically based on the life cycle of the client. Once they become a client, there's some areas we want to look at, but we also talked about our holes in our sales pipeline. We want to talk about canceled clients as well. Once again, we may not want them all back, but if you pick up another 2.5 to maybe 3.5% now post-COVID on those canceled clients, that's a big win for the bottom line. That may even just right there cancel out your cancellations from the other people. So that could just make you net even as we continue to grow the business. As we're looking at clients, this is that segmentation I talked about here on the previous screen, but it's worth looking at again. Do they have the service? Is there an estimate in progress? Is it scheduled, waiting list, or have we done it in the past X amount of days? In addition, if you're using Service Autopilot, is it a scheduled service or package? And the idea here is when we build the automations, we want to go into the specific service or package that we are automating or segmenting on and copy the exact name. So go into the service, go into the package, copy it and paste it into the automation logic area, because the reason is when we go in and do several hundred essay setups or deep dives where we help build out pricing matrices and job costing and show people how to raise the reports with no emotion, what we do find is a lot of garbage in, garbage out. So we have several names of the same exact service that are almost identical. So if you're going to segment whether they have it or don't have it, we want the exact service names you're using. Don't guess. And that's going to be a key there. And it's a great time of year right now too for you. If you're not year round in a southern market like Florida, go in and start cleaning up that database of services and naming convention. That's just going to make your life a lot easier as we go. So automated email, and this is going to be actually your automated text messaging as well. So these are going to be your two things. I don't want to let all the secrets out the bag, but Tara from SA has been working with us, as I said in the beginning, if you missed it, on a weekly basis as a certified advisor. So automated text messaging will actually get a facelift in Service Autopilot here going into 2023. And that will, right now it's called SMS. That's just text messaging two-way. There eventually is going to be an app that we can respond to instead of just using the message center. And I believe, don't hold me to it, but there may be MMS, so multimedia messaging. And that is going to allow for pictures and other multimedia and videos to be sent through the Service Autopilot two-way texting. So I don't want to just highlight automated email, because as we're working with SA to help improve the product from your guys' feedback, messaging and text messaging will probably become even more of a powerful tool. And that's where it's shifting if it hasn't already. So these are going to be the way I've framed these out is going to be applicable to your email and text, but email is not dead and it is not going anywhere. So I do want to focus on that omni-channel marketing. That's that multiple communication channels, email, text, and phone call, and potentially hard mail if the sales cycle is long. We can tie in the send Jim to trigger postcards and different mailings. The keys to success is basically a 3-approach outbound attempt, whether it's email or text. We want different marketing copy on all 3 of those. Some may be long text, maybe short text. Some may have some pictures. Obviously, the picture feature is not available in the text messaging yet, but we do want that based on how people interpret and digest that information. The key here is we want the ability to request an estimate by clicking a link or a button. And then actually, it sounds kind of crazy, but we also want them to decline the ability if they're not interested. So if we're sending 3 communications and like, hey, Mike, I'm not interested in this service this year, just not in the budget, or maybe I trimmed the bushes already this year myself, we don't want to continue to hit them a communication that are interested. So we do want to give them the ability to actually get out of that. I'm going to actually show you an example of best practice, how we build this. So when people buy the done-for-you automations that we go in, all the documents actually come pre-built with marketing content. So you actually don't have to write the content yourself, and you're able to customize them. So I wanted to actually grab one of the emails that we provide in here, and I actually highlight the ability here to send me an estimate for mowing service. I'm not interested in mowing services currently, but we're giving them the ability to click it and it automatically triggers it. We know who they are because they're in the service, and then somebody in your office would get alerted to actually get that done, hopefully with a 28 or 24-hour deadline. And if they're not interested, what it's going to do is, if you're building this yourself, you want to segment them out for just that upsell that year, but next year they're automatically entered back into it if they don't hit the search criteria. So it's really segmenting that database is going to be the key to success when we actually dial into that. So what I'm going to do is literally go through a high-level overview of these 3 areas that we're going to be able to automate in the business, and actually give you kind of a sneak peek of what Service Autopilot is going to be developing and releasing here probably in Q1 from what I understand. Don't hold me to the release date, but they have, as a certified advisor with us working, allowed us to kind of lift the hood of where the roadmap is going. And so I thought it was appropriate on this here to kind of show you what you should be looking for or anticipating when that is released. So this is the fully set up sales automation. So if you remember, stage 2 is your sales, and stage 3 is our marketing and service. So those two are going to be overlapping here. And then when we get into stage 4, people and systems, I'm going to show you how to automate that on the next screen, or probably 2 screens, because I'm going to show you some examples of the emails and the email copy that we actually use in here. And you can see on the bottom, the attract, sell, and wow phase. This is literally kind of going through this right off the bat. We've got the attract over here. We've got our sell with the education. Now we've got our wow and offer more. So this is literally built into lifecycle marketing, and I want to show you some examples. So the example here, right from left to right, is literally we should have a V2 or preferably a V3. And if you're using SA, V3 forms are great for this here because it does duplicate checking. If you're not using SA, that's okay. We automate on multiple platforms. So that's a conversation we could have if you need some advice on that. But I'll speak to this because I had a couple of people on here I do recognize that are using Service Autopilot. But this can be done on multiple platforms. We're a certified partner with Keep, which used to be Infusionsoft. But we do need an estimate request on the website. In addition, you probably, if you're working with online marketing or some other SEO companies, we probably want multiple forms. And the reason being is on these forms, there is a lead source tracking, and we're able to track where they came from. So if it's a Facebook ad, it's Google services, it's your website, and those should be able to be built out. If you need some help, let me know offline. I can make a video on that. Or if they come from the office. The idea is now they're automatically entered in Service Autopilot or the automation platform with no double entry. And the first thing we're going to do is send out this thing we call a lead letter. And that's part of that education phase. And we're going to explain the 5 or 6 main reasons why the business is different with no sales pitch. So right out the gate, your first communication, you are differentiating yourself and showing them why you're different. In addition, before the estimate or in conjunction with the estimate, depending on the sales cycle, we want to use that short-term education we talked about. We educate them to that specific service we're interested in. We create that higher perceived value, and we overcome those sales and price objections. Once the estimate is submitted, we're going to go in and use that follow-up process here of 20 days to close. Once again, automated email, text, and phone calls or ringless voicemail bombs. And the idea here is that we follow up on each and every one of our estimates. Now, if you saw the Facebook Live I did this morning, I showed a preview or a screenshot of the 20 days to close pipeline report. So this is what we include in our automation packages here. The idea is that that pipeline report is going to show you where all your current estimates are based on from 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 days and beyond. Are they a lead or client? What's the value and what's the lead source? Because based on those lead sources we talked before, there's going to be a different closing ratio. So if somebody referred you as a friend, they're probably going to buy significantly in a higher percentage than somebody off the street that doesn't know you. So now we can project our sales for the next 20 days in this pipeline. Once they become a client, this is that wow phase, and I like to call it the welcome and wow phase. So what we do is we welcome and wow them with an email, acclimates them what to expect when working with your business. And if we want a credit card on file, we would include a PCI compliant credit card form in there. So we automate that process. Once again, lifecycle marketing, 30, 60, and 90-day follow-up. Wouldn't make sense if they came to us for a one-time spring cleanup to follow up 3 separate times. So we want to build some logic in these automations to follow up once for a one-time service or 3 times for a reoccurring service. And the key to success here is, once again, automated but personal. We want it to look like it came from somebody from your office. So we give you the marketing copy here. In our process, it looks like it's a typed out email from somebody in the office. Hey, Scott, how you doing? Just following up on the lawn mowing. Just want to touch base. If there's anything else we do. And traditionally, what you'll find is, hey, they're doing a great job, but they're occasionally not blowing off the back patio. So we want to address those cancellation concerns before they become a bad review or a cancel. Next thing is happy holidays. We educate them around the holidays and continue to nurture them. Newsletter automations, we go out and educate them what they should be doing in their yard or home the month in advance. Doesn't even matter if you're not providing these services, but we need to nurture them and continue that communication. The other key thing here is we found statistically we have better email deliverability if we're in their inbox at least once, if not twice a month. So that kind of scratches that itch between the happy holidays and the newsletters. Newsletters, if you use them, are a great tool because they're going to go to your leads, clients, and cancel clients you want back. But we're educating what they should be doing. So going into the winter season, ornamental pruning or crepe myrtle pruning is going to be a big thing. With proper cuts, proper timing, how to do it. And then through reciprocity, they may reach out and actually ask you to do that. Last thing here in that process is communication. So dispatch notification, the ability to text or email before we service the property and when it's done. So the company that cleans my home actually uses our automations. And I've seen this on a client end as a consumer, really enjoy it because I know when Angelica's coming and I know when she's left, so I can come back from the other office, come back to the home office. Next thing here is around customer satisfaction. So social reviews are king, and saving that cancellations before they cancel is really key. So what we've done is we call it our NPS to social reviews. The automation can be either manually triggered or automatically triggered. If you're building this, I'd recommend automatically, but it goes out and goes through an NPS or net promoter score, 1 to 10, 9 or 10 being promoter. So 9 or 10 promoter. If they're happy, we then push them out to Google, Yelp, Facebook. If they're an 8 or below, we pull them back into an automated report for your office to actually go in and tackle the people that are unhappy before we get those bad social reviews or they cancel. Next thing here, can't stress it enough. If you do not or have not looked at overdue automations, they are huge. The first thing we usually recommend tackling is that PCI compliant credit card form that updates at 40 days before the credit card expires, buying a lot of time back from the office. And then overdue invoices, accounts receivable from literally 1 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, 90 plus. We've built this out in a methodology that escalates all the way up to assigning a ticket or a to-do for someone to actually take that to court, or collections if that's a process that you do, or a property lien. But what we've seen is we've had a few customers come in and within the first 30 days literally collect $30,000 to $35,000 of overdue invoices that they've just been neglecting because they've been out in the field and they don't have time. So that's a big one there. If you're worried about it, you can have some of those notifications bucketed for review. But honestly, if they owe you money, send it out. They're going to reach back out. Final thing here that we released last year that you could definitely build yourself if you're building these on your own is the ability for the crew to go out with a mobile device and actually give them the ability to upsell property specific issues, and that automates. And then the final part here is upselling services on a seasonal timing. Now, the first one here, I always recommend that one time to recurring. But outside of that, we recommend somewhere between 5 and 8 seasonal upsells, depending on the seasonality of your market. And once again, we talked about that database segmentation. Do they have the service? Is it scheduled, waiting list, dispatch, or is there an estimate in play? If they don't meet those areas, we go out and upsell. And that's where you get you're up to maybe 80 estimate requests in 24 to 48 hours. So that is going to tackle really your stage 3 and the first half of your stage 4 business issues or bottlenecks, as well as stage 1. Going into getting those leads, your stage 1B, you need to drive leads to your website or your office. But once you have enough people in your database that haven't converted, you basically do have a lead pool. And once we nurture them, that automation will actually help relieve that bottleneck. But we do need to get good at marketing, which is stage 3, which is going to drive the leads up front. So they kind of all come together. Next thing I want to show you real quickly here is, this is right out of my email inbox in 2016 at Callahan's Lawn Care. We've been doing this a while. Bottom left, there is 496 emails that were actually not sent, but responded to. So don't expect that many emails responding out the gate. But once this is at scale, you can expect a sizable amount of information. And this is the email. It's called the quick follow-up email. And this goes out literally 2 days after every estimate. And I said, remember, you want to make it personalized and automated, but not look automated. So this is the actual email. This is one we provide right with our automations. But it says, hey, Stacy, want to reach out, see if any questions regarding your estimate. If you want me to save a spot on our list this season, just let me know. Have a great Saturday. Secret sauce here is it looks like it's sent from the estimator's iPhone. And Stacy wrote back, hey, thanks for getting me this quote so quickly. I will review it with my husband and get back to you ASP. I love the business practices and all the info you provided up front. She's talking about that lead letter and the short-term education. So right off the bat, we were different than everybody else in there. And Stacy thinks I personally sent her out a follow-up for that estimate 2 days later from my iPhone. So these are the different things when we automate and use lifecycle marketing that can actually be very powerful in your business. Final thing here that I want to walk through, or one of the final 2 things here, is employee recruiting and onboarding. Service Autopilot with our direction is now releasing in Q1, I believe, the ability to automate on an employee or an applicant record. Traditionally, the way we would tackle this is take a lead and make it a fake employee. SA, if you've seen in there, is now going to be probably the first service or software that would give you that ability. So we can literally go in through an application on your website, going in through this interviewing process, a no hire process, introduction to company culture, mission, vision, values. That's part of that stage 4 and stage 5 issue. Automated tax document collection, video training. That's going to help tackle stage 4 and stage 5, people and systems. Automated employee contract and handbook fulfillment. These are just a few of the things that are going to be automatically available on the employee and applicant record now in Service Autopilot here coming up in the next few months. We're working with them hand to hand, and I will let you guys know as soon as that's available. Final thing is at stage 5 business and stage 4 people and systems, how to hold accountability. So the things I'm going to recommend is in tickets, in Service Autopilot, or to-dos, if you're using a Keep, we can go in and take what's in your head and delegate and automate by creating recurring tickets or tasks. So there's 7 areas in the business I'm going to recommend you look at. And they are sales, customer service, scheduling, billing, office manager, maintenance, and yes, even owner to hold us accountable. And the frequency I'd recommend looking at those tasks or recurring tickets is on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. So I want to thank everybody for holding on here and going through this. Some of you guys I know are already automation clients, probably getting a brush up. Anybody else who is here, we are offering a webinar only offer here. It's our Sales 3 Plus. It was everything on the screen. We charge $250 monthly. That includes your support and updates. And we have a one-time setup fee of normally $2,500, but the webinar only special here is $2,000. That can be broken into 5 $500 installments with no interest. So if that's something you are interested in, or if you want to actually get a demo of our automations, if you go to sgsautomate.com, I'd be more than happy to hook you up, and that's going to be a calendar link to hop on mine or Dylan's calendar to go over any automation things. So I've got probably an extra 3 minutes here. If anybody has any quick questions, I'm more than happy to answer them if you want to put them in the chat. Awesome. Yeah, it's down to the bottom right. I said I got 3-4 minutes for you to hop on my next call, but I did want to make sure that we gave you that roadmap. And if you are looking to take a look at our automations there, if you don't want to build them yourself, it is a $500 off the setup fee. And we can do that in 5 installments over the next 5 months. And that's sgsautomate.com. So if there is no questions here, I appreciate everybody joining me here and everybody that's in the Scale Plus group and the Masterminds group. Good seeing you guys. And I will see you on our next trip here coming up here in February in sunny Phoenix. So Josh and Scott, bring those golf clubs, boys. I'm ready. All right. Have a good one, guys. Have a great afternoon. Thanks again.